One issue ravaging much of the West, and right now has really taken hold in my district, has been the wolf population that's been introduced. I know the Biden administration has done some of that at the end with over 40 wolves being dumped into Colorado last minute on their way out the door. And wolves in California have really taken hold in the northeast part of the state. Modoc County, Siskiyou County, Lassen County, Eastern Shasta, and other areas to a little bit lesser extent. And they're ravaging those areas. The deer population is being decimated. And when they run out of deer, guess where they're looking next? You know, they're looking at livestock. But here's an example. And I don't mean to be morbid, but people need to see what this really looks like. Here's a wolf toting off a deer right here. It's got a deer head right there. This isn't native to that area. These are Canadian gray wolves. These are great, big, powerful, scary wolves that really aren't indigenous to the farther western states. And it's still listed, and we're making our efforts to delist this wolf from that list. But it's running into problems, running into difficulties because of the environmental movement saying, no, we need to have them everywhere. We need to have mating pairs in every county, I guess, in order to bring satisfaction to their desires on that. But these wolves are plentiful in areas like Minnesota and neighboring states and the central part of Canada. It's not an endangered species. There's plenty of numbers there. If you want to go look at a gray wolf, go travel to that part of the country, because we don't need to have them everywhere in order for somehow to be deemed as recovered. I like to make the giraffe analogy. Now, if you want to go look at a giraffe, you need to go to places in Africa. If you want to look at it in North America, other than the occasional zoo, we don't have them here. So you can't deem them an endangered species in North America because we don't have them here, and somehow have to start a new program to encourage and build giraffe habitat to bring a species in that really doesn't belong in that area. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's really devastating. Over 200 calves have been taken in the Northern California area and part of Oregon as well. You know, here we see a calf that has been devastated, just completely annihilated and fed upon by a pack of wolves there. And again, I'm not doing this to be morbid but I hope it does shock you. I hope it does shock you, because this is really happening to people's livelihoods that are producing food that Americans want, that others want, and that they can't do so because of a wolf population that's been introduced by government and by the behest of basically urban people that think, oh, wouldn't that be a nice ideal to have these wolves in that area? They don't have to live with the results. So these wolves have become so, let's look at the next one too. They become so brazen in how they act in the area. Here it's taken a sheep. You know, any livestock is on the menu for them, because when they start running out of the local wildlife, they're going to take what they need. And so the ability for people to push back on that, to haze them or to move them away, is very, very limited by how Fish and Wildlife has made the rules. They have very, very few options to keep them not only out of their herds, but away from their doorstep, including this doorstep right here. Yeah, this is a family dog right here. This is what's happening to families that are working in those and living in those rural areas, 4, 5, 6 longer generations, provide food to put it on the table for Americans. And this is what they have to live with. They can't let their pets out in some of these areas anymore. They can't have their kids go down to the bus stop without being guarded in order to do normal things like going to school. The people are afraid to go outside their homes at night in some cases in certain areas, because you can hear the wolves howling, and the wolves don't feel any fear of mankind. They don't feel any deterrent due to the very limited and meager measures that people can take to deter them. They're not allowed to shoot them. They're not even allowed to shoot over them. They're not allowed to be very aggressive with vehicles and such. Indeed, one anecdote I received on visiting some folks in the district is that they have drones they try to fly over and move the wolves away from their herds and away from their area. Finally, the drone just looks up at it and lays down and watches it. And the other measures, they have to fly pieces of flag, of ribbon on their fences and hope that ribbon flapping in the wind will, it's called fladry, that will scare the wolf away, or they try and string single wires of electric fence. The wolf is pretty smart. They're going to go around that, and when they're running in packs like that, they're very effective at moving the livestock, moving them, herding them to other areas. You hear other stories about them coming in and wiping out an entire flock of sheep on one farm just for the heck of it. A single wolf in one case killed 30 sheep, killed the dog, and basically scared the horse, ran the horse over a cliff area, killing that. That's more or less for sport. And this is what's happening to people. This is what's happening just in my northeast part of my state, but all over the West. The population, the elk population, the deer population being devastated in these areas. But we don't get to talk about that much because it's an ideal under Endangered Species Act that we have to move these animals wherever somebody deems that they need to go. Indeed, when you have populations that will sustain and keep prevent extinction just from what you have in the upper Midwest and Canada. So what is it going to come down to? Do we have to have people themselves be victimized to get a nice idyllic scene like this, people hiking trails? We have the Pacific Crest Trail running through that portion of my district. Now, has there been warnings sent out by the people promoting this wolf population to those that are looking to utilize these trails, Pacific Crest Trail, or climb the different mountains around Northern California? Is there adequate warnings going out to the urban areas when people expect that they're going to be able to do this as they come travel and recreate a little later on this spring and summer and fall? Are they doing that? You have this idyllic scene of a family out there hiking. So do they know possibly there might be wolves lurking in here if they're hungry and they've run out of deer to attack, and the farmers and ranchers have sold their livestock herds or pulled them out or just lost them to wolf attacks, that they're going to get hungry and start coming after anything they can find? Are people going to be on that list? Am I being dramatic? No, this is a reality. This can happen. And so will this scene be allowed anymore in those areas to say, well, it's wolf habitat now. We don't have any people recreating on their lands, on their national lands, on their park lands, the forest lands that are deemed to be multi-use. That use is being narrowed more and more to not doing timber operations and preventing wildfire and having wildlife flourish, but to be a very narrow group being satisfied this. So this is part of the work that we need to get done, and that Western Caucus is going to be focusing on, is endangered species reform,